In today's latest news, we discuss the massive reports around possible interest in signing Neymar in the summer. I'm going to break down what is happening behind the story, and to move on, we discuss Joao Felix making a permanent move to us in the summer. We talk Atletico Madrid showing interest in Mason Mount, and we discuss one of the hottest teen talents in world football as we break down our failed bids for 15-year-old Kendry Paez from Ecuador. Right now, we've got a ton of things to break down and discuss. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. To be honest, I'm really excited to be making today's video in particular. Lots of really fascinating stories, so I hope you guys are definitely going to enjoy listening, of course, and sharing your thoughts and opinions below in the comment section too. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get 2K likes for today's video, and without wasting any more time. So right now, let's kick things off and let's discuss these really interesting stories involving Neymar, Todd Boehly and Paris Saint-Germain. Now, this has been confirmed and reported by multiple French outlets. I'm going to be quoting ESPN for this particular story. But anyway, Todd Boehly and Khelaifi of Paris Saint-Germain have met in a luxury hotel to conduct multiple business talks around Hakim Ziyech, around other matters, and most notably around Neymar as well too. Now, is this giving us some early hints that for next summer's business, we're potentially looking at securing one of the global superstars in world football? We do understand already that Todd Boehly and Mr. Boehly, they have plans of one day securing one of the very premium players in world football. They've had a ton of history doing this with the LA Dodgers, so this stuff is nothing new for them. Bear with me, I'll come back to this, but right now, let's think about this story and let's talk about reality. After Hakim Ziyech's failed move to Paris Saint-Germain on deadline day, Paris Saint-Germain were rightfully angry and very annoyed. And you have to think about it like this from a business point of view. You don't want to have any bad blood with Paris Saint-Germain. You don't want to ruin any potential business meetings. It's a good thing that Todd Boehly since has met with Paris Saint-Germain to try and ease the tension, right those wrongs, and still maintain a healthy relationship. With us failing Ziyech with that move to Paris Saint-Germain, I kind of think this explains why he's getting so much more game time now currently, and of course we have to remember too that clubs are also a business, so if you're planning on selling multiple players in the summer, you don't want their transfer values to continue to fall and fall and fall because they're not getting any minutes in the first team. So, details like this, I feel like as fans, we don't necessarily, take them seriously, but it is important if we have any hopes, of course, to get the maximum amount of money by selling players in the summer. And it makes sense for both us and Paris Saint-Germain to not destroy any relationships and to not blacklist each other. I mean, realistically, if we had to sell any squad players, how many clubs in world football can afford to sign our players for the wages they're currently earning, as well as giving us, really good money as well on top too? Paris Saint-Germain, of course, are one of those clubs that have always signed players from us, so it is good to maintain that relationship, and also it works vice versa. And I think that's why we are getting these Neymar reports. If we cast our minds back to last summer, reports were already there. Reports were saying that Paris Saint-Germain, of course, were considering offering Neymar to us because think about it like this, how many clubs in world football can afford his wages? Neymar is earning close to like 26 to 27 million pounds annually at Paris Saint-Germain, and only a handful of clubs, like maybe 3 clubs in world football, can afford those wages. Personally, I think that now that Paris Saint-Germain are trying to, find new ways to compete now, recently after signing Luis Campos as well too, personally, I don't think this experiment of Neymar, Messi and Mbappe can work forever in the long term. They need to find greater balance. I think that front three just asks too much from the rest of their teammates because these guys don't really put in that defensive work. So let's go back to Neymar again now. I don't think that we are strongly interested in signing Neymar. This is a natural part of a conversation between two clubs that can mutually benefit each other in the future. And to be honest with you guys, see it like this. As I said at the start of this video, Boehly and Boehly, they plan to one day sign one of the premium global superstars out of the team, and there's only one guy that really suits that bracket, and for me that's Mbappe. He will leave Paris Saint-Germain one day, and in my opinion, I feel like with this new board, the money we have, etc., we have a strong opportunity and possibility to actually sign an Mbappe if he was ever available. Now, we can't forget our club model. We're signing some of the best young players in Europe. We don't want to sign guys who are over 30, who are earning tens of millions a year, even though Neymar would be like a massive PR boost for the Premier League. Of course, it will add quality to the team. but it comes at the expense, of course, of defensive work and team balance. And with Nkunku arriving, with us hoping to sign Joao Felix, I just don't think Neymar suits the model we are currently building towards. And as I'm really stressing, for me, this story is about maintaining that relationship that was potentially about to end. So right now, let's move on to the next story and let's talk Joao Felix and Mason Mount. To end with things, I'll talk Mason Mount's contract after this, and I'm going to end things by breaking down who the hell Kendry Paez is and why you guys need to be incredibly excited. Now focusing on Joao, Master came out with a report today and they're just reconfirming and reiterating the fact that Joao Felix is absolutely loving life at Chelsea Football Club right now. Him and his team feel like he can become one of the best players in the world by playing for us and staying in the Premier League. And the important news that came up from this article is the fact that both us and Atletico Madrid are still prepared to continue talks to find a solution to sign Joao Felix on a permanent. Now what was interesting in this article is that Mount's name popped up as an option that Atletico Madrid would actually like to sign, and there's actually inquiries about offering Mason Mount plus money in this deal to sign Joao Felix. Now straight away, this makes no sense. I mean, currently, the market valuation for Joao Felix is in the mud. He's worth less than 50% of the money that Atleti originally spent to buy him in the first place. Mount's valuation is around 75 million. It doesn't make sense to offer Mason Mount plus money on top for Joao Felix. That is a stupid deal. Reports do state that Mount isn't seen as an untouchable anymore. We're seeing that right now. He has lost his first team spot to Joao Felix, in behind the striker. But before I end this report, we need to remember that us and Atleti have an amazing relationship. We've constantly bought players from each other. We've had lots of positivity behind the scenes. Of course, Atleti have a bit of a gamble on their hands right now. They're hoping that Joao Felix can boost his market valuation by having a successful loan spell with us. Now, even if he does do that, there's no way in hell he'll be worth over 100 million. I just don't see that happening unless he puts in all the numbers before this season ends. And what really helps us is the fact that Joao Felix does not want to return to Atletico Madrid. It has nothing to do with Simeone. It's pure football. He is a ball to feet player. He is suffering playing for Atletico Madrid, where you have to do your best stuff off the ball. And if you're touching the ball like sporadically throughout a game, if you're required to put in a defensive shift, which is kind of like contradicting your style of game, how can you go back there? It doesn't make sense. So because Joao Felix wants to remain here, this will give us a major advantage when it comes to finding a solution to sign him in the end. Now remember, back in January, Atleti wanted around 85 million at the end of his loan spell, of course, to complete the move for Joao Felix. I think when we do sign him, and yeah, I'm going to put out positive affirmations and put it out there in the universe, I think we can sign him for less than that original valuation they wanted in the January window. So let's continue to watch the space. Positive things will happen. And right now, let's move on to discussing Mason Mount and this contract situation. Now, currently, I don't know why Mount's been getting so much hate for these, fake old stories over contract length and contract demands. He is not going to get 300,000 a week. No one is going to be getting that at this football club. We don't do business like that. As I keep stressing every single time, Boehly is offering performance enhanced and related contracts where you have a nice base fee, but there'll be many performance related bonuses on top that you can unlock to earn more money on a monthly basis. So all this nonsense about Mount being greedy and overstepping his mark is literally just pure agenda driven conversation by a minority of the fan base that has never liked him since day one. From what I know, the real issue is over contract length. Now, he doesn't want to sign a 7-year deal at all. That gives him no leverage in the future. He's 24 years old. When he hits his prime and he's like 27, 28, he can earn the highest amount of money in his career because that is what players do. From what I'm hearing, a possible contract of 4 years plus a 1-year extension is a lot more favourable in Mount's opinion. And ideally, when it comes to wages, he wants something similar or close to the contract offered to Reece James. And remember, Reece is not earning 250 bags a week in a base fee. That is not the case. Remember, when it comes to contract negotiations, clubs aren't speaking directly to the players themselves. The players are too busy training, focusing on the game, being professional, doing their jobs and living their lives. It's up to their representatives to do that. So what I actually did was I went onto Transfer Market and I actually saw something that I didn't even realize, but currently Mount is not signed up to any agency. His dad represents him. And from seeing that information, a lot of epiphanies just kind of hit my mind. Like, it makes a lot of sense why some of these stories are coming out now. I mean, think about it like this. Imagine you had a kid in a similar situation. You want the best for your kid, yeah? You're going to make sure you get the best possible contract, even if there isn't enough flexibility behind the demands. Mount's not telling his dad what to do. His dad is his rep, and his dad will give the best possible judgment call that he thinks his son should earn. I feel like this is why we're seeing certain reports about Liverpool interest, etc, etc. Of course, once players are under the final 2 years of their contract, normally this is a signal to other clubs to, try to tempt the player by making offers. And of course, if these stories are coming out in the media, you're doing that, of course, to try and, increase your leverage when it comes to negotiations. So to end things, and I need to just be honest with this one, it's what I'm hearing behind the scenes, but I can't say this with 100% confidence, but I'll tell you guys anyway. That is the disclaimer. Do not forget the disclaimer, yeah? But from what I'm hearing, it does seem like Mount is looking to sign up with a new agency instead. And of course, with a new agency, they're going to be more professional, they'll have more experience, and there'll be a host of other important players under their belts they work with to get the best possible deals. So I feel like once the story comes out that Mount has signed to a new agency, then I think these contract talks, of course, are going to progress and move on. So right now, my friends, let's end things by discussing another massive story. And we discuss young 15-year-old Ecuadorian, and his name is Kendry Paez. Now, at the beginning of this month, he made his official first team debut for Independiente De Valle. Now, this guy for me is really exciting me. He's 15, he's a midfield player, he is left-footed. In my opinion, I see him as like an Iniesta style of player in the sense of, he plays on the right-hand side of a midfield three where he's like a more advanced 8, like a more attacking playmaker who plays in midfield. He can also play as an attacking mid further up, and he can also play down that right-hand side. And at this point in time, after shining in the Next Gen tournament last year, where of course Independiente De Valle were playing against RB Leipzig plus a host of teams, he left that tournament as the star player of that tournament. You guys have seen examples of some of the goals scored. The guy looks absolutely phenomenal, in my personal opinion. And it just continues this rise you're seeing in Ecuadorian football right now, where, they're producing some super talents in the game. Moises Caicedo, for example, had a very long reputation before Brighton originally signed him. Many big clubs like us also held talks, but the player decided that Brighton is the best move to make to get the game time to progress and evolve his career. At this point in time, it has been reported that Independiente De Valle have turned down basically a £14.8 million bid for us to sign him, and when you consider that they sold Caicedo to Brighton for around 4.5 million, they understand the magnitude of player they have at their hands, and they can earn even more money, rightfully so, because Independiente De Valle, they have one of the best youth academies in South America. In that recent Ecuadorian World Cup team, 10 of the players in that 26-man squad had played some part in their academy. So these guys don't play around, and the money they could generate for Paez could really just go into boosting the facilities in their youth academies even more, and of course elevating the prospects of their club. Now at 15, he hasn't officially played for the first team for Independiente. Instead, he is playing for the under-20s, but he did take part in the first team's pre-season earlier as well too, so he is definitely the next one on their list. At 15, he's 177 centimeters. By the time he's in his peak age, he'll probably be over 6 foot. He's got very good stamina and physicality for his age. And I'll discuss some of the best parts about his game. I mean, the guy has what I look for in top quality, creative players that like to play ball to feet. I mean, the guy has incredible acceleration over short distances, and he can maintain that over long distances as well too. He has a clean striking technique. He can play every type of pass over long distances and short distances. He has incredible balance with his body. And because of that balance, it allows him to do things with the ball at his feet that other players just can't do. He will regularly get past 2 or 3 players, and he'll do that in congested areas in the middle of the field. And for me, when I look at players that are incredible dribblers on the ball, guys like Neymar, Messi, Felix, etc, etc, these guys can do it in the most congested areas in the field, in those central areas, and not out wide like decent players can. The guy is super intelligent. He doesn't necessarily get involved in many personal duels, even though he has the physicality to do that. And I think that if he was developed to be on the right hand side of a midfield 3, and I say this because he's a guy that likes to play ball to feet, he will drop deeper to receive the ball, and he can facilitate the play and make things happen. I think if that does happen, of course, he can do extra work to boost that physicality, work more on the defensive aspects, work more positionally as well too. But in the meantime, his intelligence is shining. He can play around opponents. He can play 1-2 balls to get away from space. He can find the right pockets of space at the best angles, of course, to receive on the half turn, and make attacks happen. And the reason why I feel like this guy can grow even more physically is because already he has really good stamina and he lasts the entirety of games. In my opinion, I see him as like an Iniesta style type of player. And, to end things, we all know that this club has plans for 2030, Project 2030. Let's say hypothetically that we can sign Kendry. He'll be like 22, 23 years old by the time it's 2030. Of course, even if we can secure his services right now, he can't play for us until he's 18 years old. And by that time, what if he's going to one of the feeder clubs that we have as part of our multi-club network? He gets at least 2 years experience in Europe, and by the time he's 20, 21 years old, he's ready to have like a squad place in our team in the future. This is what we are planning for in the future. We want to sign the next great players before they become those great players that cost 100 million. This is why you need to have faith behind what we're doing in the season, because it's not just about the first team, it's about everything happening at this club. It will take some time, but we are putting in those foundations to make things happen. I'm really excited by this kid. What I'm seeing right now at 15, the guy looks absolutely phenomenal, and I don't say that too often. So let's hope we can beat competition, because he has competition from Liverpool, United, every club across Europe and domestically too. It's going to be very hard, but under Boehly and the new transfer team, we can make the impossible happen. So my friends, on that note, this is a very long news daily video. I hope you guys enjoy. Share your thoughts and opinions, and stay tuned for more content that will drop later as well. I'm EFC, this is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.